My name is Yusuf Mohammed Ibrahim, a doctorate student of Sustainable Development Center, University of Abuja. I am here to present my research topic on investigating the effectiveness of tax incentives for green ventures towards achieving Goal 13 of the Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria. This study explores the effectiveness of tax incentives in promoting green ventures as a strategic pathway toward achieving Sustainable Development Goal 13 climate action. As we all know, Nigeria is battling with the dual challenge of climate vulnerability and economic development. The research investigates how fiscal policies impact environmentally oriented business, their growth and contribution to climate resilience. Findings from this study aim to offer policy relevant insights into structure, implementation and effectiveness of Nigeria's green tax regime. By evaluating the role of fiscal incentives in driving conscious entrepreneurship, the research contributes to evidence-based reforms that align Nigeria's development agenda with its international environmental commitments. Okay, the literature review. Nigeria has ratified climate agreements and create environmental policies. Research reveals a gap between these commitments and fiscal implementation. SDG country reviews and FRS policy documents acknowledge the need for green investments, but few studies evaluate the tax incentive system's actual impact on climate metrics. Efforts like the Nationally Determined Contribution and Climate Change Act 2021 offer policy direction, yet it lacks ground analysis of how tax tools are aligned with climate goals. Some of the research gaps include the design and effectiveness of green tax incentives in Nigeria, stakeholder experience with accessing these incentives, the direct contribution of incentivized ventures to SDG 13 outcomes. Some of the objectives of the study include uh, to identify and analyze the structure of tax incentives available to green ventures in Nigeria, to evaluate the extent to which these tax incentives influence the growth and sustainability of green ventures, to investigate the contribution of incentivized green ventures to climate mitigation and resilience in line with SDG 13, to examine stakeholder participation, perceptions and experiences regarding the accessibility and effectiveness of the tax incentives, to assess these institutional and regulatory factors affecting the implementation and enforcement of green tax policies, to recommend strategic improvements in fiscal policy to enhance climate action and support green entrepreneurship. The methodology used here are both qualitative and quantitative, and the major primary survey, the major source of data is primary, which is surveys and semi-structured interviews with green business owners, tax professionals and policy makers. The secondary, which will be legislative documents, FRS reports, SDG progress reports and environmental performance indicators. The analysis techniques: thematic analysis of qualitative interviews, correlation analysis of tax incentives uptake and climate-related investment metrics, comparative evaluation across regions and industries. The research design will be mixed. methods approach, which will be both quantitative and qualitative methods. The expected outcome of this research will be empirical evaluation of tax incentive structure, which will be like a detailed mapping of existing tax incentives targeting green ventures, insight into how these incentives are accessed, administered, and interpreted by beneficiaries. Also, to assess the impact of green enterprises, to measure contributions to SDG 13, stakeholders' perspectives and institutional gaps, strategic policy and recommendations, contribution to knowledge and scholarship. Uh, the timeline of this research will be in phases. Um, Instrument design and piloting, which will be developed, and test surveys and interviews tools, which will take 2 weeks. There will be another 2 weeks for reach out to green ventures and stakeholders. There will be 4 weeks administered surveys to green venture owners, 4 weeks also to conduct semi-structured interviews, and 6 weeks to collect and analyze fiscal policy documents. 2 weeks will be to validate, anonymize, and format the data. That's to clean the data. Some of the impacts that I feel will have an impact in this research will be policy optimization for climate action, boosting green investment and innovation, advancing Nigeria's SDG commitments. In conclusion, climate change remains a pressing concern for Nigeria. We all know that. With growing economic and ecological implications, this study affirms the green venture plays, which will play a pivotal role in climate mitigation, but their progress is closely tied to fiscal environment they operate in. While Nigeria has initiated tax incentives programs aimed at various sectors, the targeting accessibility and policy coherence for green ventures remain limited and often underutilized. This research highlights that well-structured and transparent tax incentives can serve as powerful catalysts not only for enterprise growth but also for achieving national and international sustainability objectives. Institutional challenges such as bureaucratic delays, regulatory gaps, and low awareness among stakeholders will hinder the full potential of these fiscal instruments. Finally, to unlock climate-friendly innovation, a reimagining of Nigerian tax frameworks is necessary, one that better integrates environmental priorities, encourages green entrepreneurship, and tracks measurable contribution to SDG 13. By eliminating these dynamics, the study lays a foundation for actionable policy reforms and cross-sector collaboration that advance both economic resilience and environmental integrity. Thank you for your interest in how tax incentives can contribute to the development of Goal 13 of the Sustainable Development Goals.